I've built the marble machine in 3D for my animated film called The Backrooms Tape 2, just for it to get destroyed. This was quite an interesting challenge, so I'd like to share my process with you. But why the marble machine? For me, the original piece looks very ominous. It's so beautiful in its complexity, yet it's very threatening for some reason. Its asymmetrical construction paired with the hundreds of pieces, everyone having a purpose, but when you look at it for the first time, you can't really guess what any of it is used for. It's like a beautiful wild animal or a giant insect. You want to admire it, but you have to be quite careful and stay far enough away because you don't fully understand and know what it can do to you. Is it dangerous? Is it friendly? One can only guess. In combination with the nostalgia I have towards this particular instrument and the melody, I decided that it's a perfect fit to be included in my Backrooms film. So I started gathering reference images. The biggest problem with the modeling process was the lack of any real documentation available. Martin Mullen, the original creator, said that a lot of the parts were improvised, so I couldn't really model it based on any blueprints. The best resource as a reference was the original Wintergatan video playing the famous melody. I took screenshots from every angle and started preparing my 3D scene. Since none of the angles were the typical front, side, and top angles, I decided to recreate each camera angle in 3D space. Luckily for me, the marble machine has this big middle piece with proper 90-degree angles, so that worked well enough as a 3D perspective reference. When I had all my cameras ready, I fit that middle piece to make sure it sits properly in all camera angles. You can use this technique when modeling any object actually. Just snap a photo with your phone, replicate the camera angle or just use the side view, it doesn't need to be perfect, and model based on that. If you have photos from different angles, then that's even better. When trying to replicate reality, it's quite important to have a lot of good references. I started with the main frame, legs, and easiest pieces, and moved on from there, checking all the proportions after including every new piece to see if it works well in all camera angles. When I had the main base, that's where all the fun began. All of these pieces are a very snug fit, so the margin of error would quickly pile up. While modeling, I had a few situations where I had to redo big chunks of elements because they would just go way off. I've built the bass guitar separately. After finding the exact instrument model, which is the Hüfner violin bass, I was able to model it based on blueprints that I found online. And yeah, basically, that's the modeling process. Looking at the reference and replicating what I see as best I can. Some elements are approximations, since I couldn't figure everything out. Some don't connect perfectly to one another, but who cares? It's not like this thing has to play a song or anything. A thing I've learned is that things only usually need to be good enough. If the thing you're creating meets its intended purpose, and the purpose here was, oh dang, the marble machine in the Backrooms, then the rest are just details that only a few people will notice. Does it work? Does it tell the story? Is it believable? If yes, then you're good to go. Obviously, this all depends on the use case and the scope of the project, and in this particular case, the 90% accuracy I was able to achieve was sufficient. After the model was finished, I applied some basic textures. This was quite a quick process since the marble machine has a very uniform, sanded wooden look. For some parts, like the symbols, I projected the original image to get accurate wear and tear. I was considering adding the pencil-written names of some of the parts like you see here, but decided not to since I was nearing the end of working on my film and this project had a lot of other things I had to concentrate on. And voila, here it is. Standing in all its glory, the finished marble machine. Looking good in my opinion, quite similar to the original. That's when I thought, maybe I should show it to the original creator, Martin Mullen. I wonder if he will like it. I even remember being stressed a bit that for some weird copyright reason I wouldn't be able to use this 3D model in my film, so I sent him a quick email, told him what I'm working on, showed him the marble machine renders I've made, and asked if I can use it in my project. He was actually really happy with how it turned out, and this was a giant relief for me. He let me use it and told me to send him the finished film when I'm done, so now I had pressure. He didn't know that I was about to destroy it. So let's break this thing. I didn't even consider using Blender for simulating this since Blender's rigid body system is quite basic. I used Houdini instead, and it easily handled hundreds of pieces in this model, even when I accidentally scattered one whole marble machine model per piece. The idea was that the character sees the machine, walks to the handle, tries to use it, but instead of spinning and playing music, the machine collapses. I used glue constraints, set up some parameters, and animated 2 spheres to drive the destruction in a way I envisioned it. I made tens of simulations, and it was hard to pick one in particular. For some reason, I didn't save the project file for the simulation I ended up using. Luckily enough, I made a proper export of the simulation, and here it is. I liked the pacing of this one. It wasn't one break and collapse. I liked the unique rhythm this one had. Now, back to Blender. To place it into the environment and... oh, the textures look quite lame. Time to tweak that a bit and... okay, yeah, now I've got it. The Alembic file was quite heavy and slowed down the scene and render times. But the original model, without any animation, was very light. So I optimized the scene in this way. When the camera walks throughout the museum and doesn't see the machine, it's gone. It doesn't exist. When the camera sees the machine, the original static model is there. And right at the moment when the simulation needs to start, the static model disappears and the simulated model replaces it. The simulation plays out, and when it stops, the model again disappears, just to be replaced with another static mesh. And since this whole shot is like 5 minutes long, this meant I only needed to set up everything once. Click render and have everything play out as it should. I finished the scene, rendered it out, and noticed one weird problem. The machine lagged a bit for some reason. Shish kebab. The Houdini project was in 24 FPS and the Blender scene is in 25, and I don't have the original Houdini file anymore. So for these few frames, I changed the Blender project to be 24 FPS, rendered it out, and there was no lag, so nice. And yeah, what else? Oh, the sound effects. Wood cracks, wood falling, my bass guitar being hit in multiple ways, and some really nice vibraphone samples that Martin sent me to simulate the sound of an instrument that fell. Altogether formed this beautiful cacophony. The modeling process and simulation for this whole thing took about 3 months of on and off work, since while doing this I also had a lot of other stuff to do to finish my film. While working on this model, I would listen to the original Marble Machine song, so much that I decided to learn to play it on my bass guitar. It's such a cool bass line. From the research I've done, it seems that this is the only 3D model of the Marble Machine in the whole world, so that's quite interesting. Working on this project made me appreciate even more all the work that Martin Mullen put in his original creation. Now it's even harder for me to comprehend that he was able to not only build this, but play his own song on it. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I like these kind of projects, since when you're just starting out, the amount of work can feel really overwhelming. Looking at a giant hill you want to climb on can feel impossible, but just properly plan your route. You don't have to get there in a day. Have at it, here and there. Take a break if you need one. In the beginning, you may feel like you aren't making any progress, but trust the process. Before you know it, you'll look back on how far you've gone already and feel nothing but motivation to move on. And by the end, having this whole process behind you, you'll think to yourself, that wasn't as hard as I thought it would be. I'm proud of myself. That's when you start looking for a bigger challenge. If you like this video, consider leaving a like, a comment, or subscribe for more. You can also support me on Patreon, where I post high-resolution art from my projects, 3D models, project files, and setups I use and came up with. And yeah, have a good one.